Hey there everyone, Spazzy Dragon here, and welcome to part 4.5 of our Discover Freelancer Let's Play for 2016. Right, so by the time recording this video, Felix is on a plane. He's taking a trip to Prague, I think, and Ark, since he is an American, is currently asleep. I really wanted to do a Let's Play today, but considering these two guys are currently busy, which, by the way, makes updating this series a little bit more of a hassle than the previous years, I've instead decided to make this particular Let's Play a sort of a in-between episode, especially considering we have pretty much went through the first sort of, quote, stage of newbie development in the first 4 episodes. Now, if you are a player, if you are a new player watching this Let's Play, I'm really sorry. This particular episode is not going to involve a lot of video footage or a lot of Let's Play, but please do not skip it anyway, because the purpose of this video is actually very simple. In the last 4 episodes, I've touched upon a few subjects or a few topics that I really needed to discuss a little bit further, and quite frankly, those topics actually need to have a video of their own. But due to how the Let's Play actually works, it is not really that possible. You see, when you're recording and you're trying to talk about things, you get distracted. You get distracted, everyone gets distracted, things get distracted, and I somehow lose track of the things I really need to say and end up kind of cutting things short. So in the following video, I'm going to specifically elaborate on 3 distinctive topics that I would really need to do right now, and obviously we're also going to kind of touch upon the subject of how this Let's Play slash tutorial slash guide slash thing video series in general is going to progress from there. Alright, so the first one is a certain topic that I actually already mentioned in the first episode, and it is about the overall attitude of the new player that joins Disco and the attitude that they need to sort of keep in mind while they're kind of interacting with other people in a roleplay environment. Not the attitude themselves. I suppose attitude is the wrong word. I suppose the mindset is the right one. And this is something that I already started talking about. So basically the idea is this. I mentioned EVE Online as an example, and the episode in particular, and I said how people who come to discover Freelancer, they are usually usually they are kind of already okay with sci-fi settings and other games. They obviously have played other games. And we have a certain amount of people who come from EVE Online. And so the thing about EVE Online is, what makes it really interesting is the fact that there's no rules. And obviously this leads to things like people having to survive in a really harsh environment full of people who want to kill them, people who want to take advantage of them. We have a huge amount of... I think Scott Manley was the person who made a video regarding baiting and cheating, or, well, not cheating, but rather, scamming people online in EVE Online. And so they come to Discovery Freelancer expecting somewhat of a same sort of experience. They have the mindset of, this is a competitive game with PvP elements, and they come with that mindset. They are ready to, try and survive in this environment. And sadly, this is the wrong kind of, mindset to come into Disco with, because, well, basically it's like this. Imagine Discovery Freelancer less of a game with roleplay elements, but more of like a roleplay chat room that just happens to be inside of a game. And things will make a whole bunch much better sense. What I mean to say is that you're not playing against other players, just like you're not trying to dick over whoever you're roleplaying on the forum or in a chat. That's the same thing. Roleplayers who have been roleplayers for many years probably get what I'm saying right now. When you're roleplaying with the other person, you're contributing with the other person, and you're not playing against them. You're playing with them. And this is the ideal attitude you should go into Disco with. For example, we have players who roleplay as pirates, and when they encounter a player, a trader, both sides sort of need to ignore the fact that this is a pirate and this is a player behind a pirate who wants your credit. So you just sort of need to detach yourself from that and instead roleplay the scene that is going on, that your character has been caught by a pirate and is now being pointed at by a huge gun and basically their life is in danger. So as long as you can detach yourself from the out-of-game implications this implies and immerse yourself in Disco, things will be much more simpler. So, for example, yes, in this particular case that I mentioned about the trader and the pirate, of course it is not simple to just give people your money, but if the pirate is good at role-playing, if the roleplay actually makes sense, there is no reason for you not to do it, because this is a roleplay server and this is, the player interaction that you're expected to have. Again, the point of Discovery and playing in Discovery Freelancer is the player interaction. It's not just about the game, it's not just about the PvP. At the same time, for pirates, it's also, you're not fucking over the player. The point of your roleplay is not to fuck over the other player. And so demanding huge amounts of credits or even all of their cargo is just nonsensical, because it has no roleplay value. It doesn't really make any difference if you ask them 10,000 credits or 10 million credits. The roleplay stays the same, and the roleplay, itself stays the same. And I suppose that's pretty much it about that particular topic. You need to make sure that you understand that Discovery is about playing with other players and interacting with other players. You're playing with players, you're not playing against them. And something you need to understand, again, if, just in case you think that this is okay, the community you're now entering is a sizable one. You will always have people you kind of meet, new faces to meet. There's always going to be new people you see, but at the same time it is small enough. It is small enough for you as a individual to stand out. And whether or not you're going to do that as a good individual or as a troublemaker is really up to you. And quite frankly, the latter don't really survive long. Okay, second topic, regarding the rules. This was a painful experience. This was a specifically painful experience because I had to sort of sit down with Felix and Ark in a later occasion as well, and try to explain them why the rules are like they are right now. If you are a new player, this is the most painful part of Discovery Freelancer, and quite frankly, I understand why. This generation of players in 2016, when we have players in their early to mid to late teens joining Disco, they have troubles understanding that a modern title would need them to memorize a legal document's length of server rules, and why these rules are there in the first place. And there's a reason for that, and quite frankly, again, this is one of those things that really deserve an episode of their own, but basically, the problem with Discovery rules is that they are there as a result of certain situations that had to be dealt with by the admin team, and those rules are now in place, gathered over the many years of Discovery's existence, as they are right now. This is why we have specific rules about piracy, specific rules about engagement, specific rules about pretty much anything, but there's one huge problem. There is no context to those rules for new players. I had Felix, I had him ask me about rules that I personally, and many people, probably all of the veteran players on Disco, would find these rules, as they would say, self-explanatory. But only if you play Disco, and that is the major hurdle about this. You need to play Disco in order to understand these rules. Any player who has been first-hand directed to the rules page before they even install Disco, they're reading over these rules and they're going like, what the hell am I looking at? how does this make sense? And this is actually something that we kind of need to, stop for a moment and discuss, because here's the thing. Again, these rules were made by veteran players for veteran players, so to make the in-game environment much more friendly overall. And, well, the problem is we have many rules by now. For example, we have the rules regarding, I don't know, metagaming, for example. Okay, metagaming is not allowed. For a new player, especially one who is not into roleplay or either has not been experienced in roleplay, they pretty much go like, okay, the rule states that it's bad to metagame. Okay, I know what metagame is, but how does that translate into a roleplay environment in-game? How does this specific rule... There's no explanation, there's no context to this rule. If the rules say... If the rule list currently had a drop-down menu underneath each rule with an example of what it means, things would be a lot simpler. For example, in the case of metagaming, imagine you undock... I don't know. Imagine you are in Omicron Alpha, the birthplace of the outcast, the place where people get cardamine to then smuggle into the house systems, and for example to Manhattan. Imagine you're sitting there on your outcast player, on your outcast character, sorry, and you see a player with a Freelancer ID with a transport undocking from Malta, and they are carrying cardamine. You wave them off. Metagaming is knowing, okay, you see where this player is heading. If he's heading to the Sigmas, then it's obviously he's going to Rainland. If he's heading to the Taos, then it's obvious that he's heading to New York. Maybe if you're not a new player, it's not as obvious, but bear with me. Metagaming would be then switching to a lawful character, tracking this player on the... fuck's sake. Tracking this player on the player list and then capturing them with that lawful character. That would be metagaming. If now it makes sense. Now you might think, oh, okay, that actually makes sense. Okay, that is metagaming. That is bad. And that's all we need for these rules, quite frankly. If we kind of had the... I don't know, maybe I should make a video explaining these things, but quite frankly, even for a vet, it's not really that simple sometimes. Okay, so, let's go to 3, because this is something that I started talking about in either the second or the third episode, I don't really remember. Anyway, it gathered a lot of QQ, especially from experienced players. I specifically mentioned that a new player, when they start playing Discovery Freelancer and they are going into the roleplay environment and starting to participate and making, slowly progressing through the ships, that they shouldn't really focus their effort on the roleplay of their character just yet. And this sparked a huge amount of, worrisome. I understand why people are freaking out when I said that. Okay. I tried to elaborate myself already, but I'm going to do this again. What I was saying is that the idea, the overall sort of short-term goal of a new player is to acquire a ship that they can then use to gather the funds that they need for their future characters. That they should not be too worried about the roleplay of their character, and instead they need to focus their overall, current ambitions in order to get that ship. Now, this is where things get a little bit tricky, because it depends on how you get to kind of understand what I'm saying. I know I'm not making sense right now, and this is a problem with, non-scripted videos, but okay. So, for example, what I'm saying is that a lot of people, for some reason, invite new players into the game saying, okay, now you need to figure out what your character is from where he is and what he's doing, but this guy is in a Sunrider. He's mining helium, so, if this was the case, then every single player would be basically like saying, oh, my character started off as a helium miner. You know, every single player would be saying that, and that's silly. That's silly to imagine. And obviously that is why that's not the case. So, the problem why people were freaking out when I said this was that it is a really, it's a knife's edge to walk. Basically what I'm saying is that, yes, you are a new player and you are a part of the roleplay environment. That doesn't change. But don't worry about having to, figure out your character just yet. Instead, the point of that moment of your progression is to get a better ship so you can then fund those characters with. Instead of worrying about what your character is or is not, okay, you are a part of the roleplay. If if you meet another player, you still interact with them with a roleplay, with a roleplay in mind. But at the same time, what happens is that you are flying around, you are mining, you're looking for better ships, you're looking for places to sell your cargo for a higher price. I would say don't waste your time on things that you can do later. You can figure out your character later. For now, look at the world around you. That is your current task. You need to look around, what people you encounter, what factions you encounter. You're going to be flying all over the place. Don't worry about what you can do later. First of all, you are currently trying to get a ship to then make other characters with, and at the same time, and this is the important part, you are scouting for other potential places to create those characters in. So you are, in fact, a part of the roleplay environment, but your current short-term goal is to find a place to roleplay in, and then acquire the money to make that roleplay character with. Okay. Now it sounds a little bit better, right? When I try to explain like this. But there is a reason why this is there is a reason why people start freaking out about this. Okay. There is a huge mistake that a lot of people, some people, make up making, and we have seen these people. Like, the results are real. And that if you tell someone this, they somehow misunderstand it, and they think that their trading character for some reason isn't a part of the roleplay environments. That the only reason why that character exists is that you grind money, because, money is all you need in order to actually make any other character you want. And this basically translates into everything that he does is basically quasi-roleplay, and so when they encounter roleplay characters such as unlawfuls, for example, pirates, they suddenly think that, it feels, they have the feeling that, oh, well, since this is a kind of not really a roleplay character, but just a means to means to grind credits, that suddenly, for some reason, that pirate is also the same thing. It's not a roleplay character. He's not interacting with his dedicated roleplay character. And, well, you can imagine how the rest is. It's basically, it leads to the assumption that some encounters in the game are not roleplay, while some encounters in the game are more roleplay. I suppose this is one of the this is one of the topics that I will have to make a additional video about, and actually probably a scripted one, because, when I'm trying to explain this off the top of my head, it's not really that okay. Well, but so much for that. Hopefully it makes sense, at least a little bit more sense now. Anyway, that is pretty much it for the 3 topics I really wanted to discuss, and already this video is a lot longer than I really wanted it to be. The last topic, I suppose, is about the future of the episodes themselves, because this is where we sort of enter the new stage, the new sort of level. Already, something that I kind of, said to both of them in the last episodes, that this marks the end of your progression through Discovery Freelancer as a newbie. You have acquired the ship to make the, plentiful money with, and now you can finally focus on the characters themselves. And that is exactly what we're going to do. And I think starting from part 5, we are going to focus on the actual, so to speak, the showcase part of the Let's Play / showcase. And what we're going to do, we are going to start off with the smallest ships in the game, with a light fighter, and then go up, and we are going to show not only what kind of ships we have, but also what kind of equipment they have, and we're basically going to show you the content and also the gameplay. And it is going to be focused on the actual game experience rather than the overall progression, so to speak. Anyway, this was Spazzy Dragon, aka Syndromes. This video was, quite frankly, a mess, and hopefully it is going to help you. I'm really sorry if it was not as interesting as the first ones, but, well, there you go. So, stay tuned for part 5, where we start finally actually putting all of those credits to good use, and I will see you then. Fly safe.